Hello, hello. I am going to quickly show you how you can make a flowchart algorithm using Google Doc. All right, so for this example assignment, um, students are to use some of the shapes in the table below to make a flowchart algorithm for how you get ready for school in the morning. And if we quickly take a look at the table, we can see the shapes that we need. We might need an arrow because an arrow means it shows the flow of the flow chart. A rectangle is when someone needs to take an action in the flow chart. The ovals are the start and the end of the flow chart. And then the diamond is when someone needs to make a decision. So I just wanted to show how can you access these shapes in Google Doc so that you can make a flowchart algorithm. The first thing I do is I put my cursor where I want the flowchart to start, and then you go up to the menu area to insert, and you're going to insert a drawing. So for me, it's the third option down, and you're going to click new, and a new window pops up where you can design your drawing. You will see here that there are different options. If you hover over, they'll tell you what each option represents. The number one thing that you're going to need is shapes. So you'll need to add ovals. You'll need to add rectangles. And you'll need to add, not text boxes. You'll need to add most likely a diamond because that is how you communicate decision making. You'll need to add arrows. And here is another type of arrow that you might use, the connector. One thing I wanted to point out about the arrows is if you click on the arrow, some menu options come up where you can change where the line ends and starts. You can change the dash or the weight of the arrow, the color of the arrow. And over here, you can actually rotate the arrow around if that is something that you're needing to do. So as long as you have your arrow clicked, for example, the arrow's not clicked here. So if I go to actions, rotate doesn't work. But if I click it, go back to actions, now I can rotate it or flip it. Okay. And that is save and close, puts it here, right? So I wanted to also, this is one that I started before recording. In order to edit a Google drawing inside of Google Doc that you've already created, you just double click on it. So again, let me show you. This one is a Google Doc, a Google drawing inside of Google Doc that I've already created. So I'm just going to double click on it so I can edit it. Now, how did I get words inside of the shapes? Well, you simply click on the shape, and once you've clicked on it, I'm actually double clicking. Do you see how the cursor popped up there? And now I can type, look at calendar. Okay. So look at calendar. And I want to edit these words. I want them to all be in one line. So that means I need to make them a little smaller. So as long as I have the words highlighted, I go to these three dots here and I can reduce the size so that they're all in one line. I can also make them bold and I can make them center because right now they're left alignment. So I can make them center by clicking here. So my action is to look at a calendar. Now here I'm double clicking and I'm going to say is weekday. I need to highlight this so that I can make bold and uh-oh. Is it a weekday? So my algorithm is asking you to look at the calendar and determine, is it a weekday? And so if it is a weekday, we're going to do one thing. If it is not a weekday, we're going to do something different. So I'm going to add a connector here. And I'm going to add two more actions. I'm going to Control C, Control V, copy and paste them. And if it is a weekday, then you're going to say go to school. It's not a weekday. I'm going to say go back to bed. Right? This is just a very basic algorithm because actually you would want to ask a whole lot more questions and give a whole lot more instructions. So again, how do I move the letters around? I double click them, make sure they're highlighted, and you can make them bold, you can make them smaller. Double click, center, bold, smaller, until you're happy with the design. I also wanted to point out that right here, here's an arrow, but we need to maybe make more than one arrow. So I'm Control C, and I'm making some copies of it. And I'm putting them where I want them to show the flow. And the last thing I wanted to point out, now this is not complete because is it a weekday? I would need to put yes here so you can put like a text box to say yes. And I'm going to center it again. And I'm also going to Control C, Control V, because over here, if it's not a weekday, then guess what? We need to say, go back to bed. Okay, so I'm using text boxes to do those for the decision making. Another thing I wanted to point out is how to change the colors. So any of these shapes that I want to change colors, I can by simply clicking here. The menu pops up. This is the background. So I can make it whatever color I think is interesting to me. And if you want to make the different shapes all one color, then that can be your choice. Maybe I want to make them green because they're actions and make this decision. Maybe blue, that's a little too dark because they have to make a decision. Okay, so of course, this is not complete. In your algorithm, everything should connect. So we would need to say go to school and then stop, go back to bed and then stop. You would want to make sure that it all looks nice and clean. But I just want to wrap up by showing you once you're done, once you're happy with editing this, then you need to save and close. And there's our algorithm. All right. So again, how did we create this? We went up to insert, we went to drawing, we created a new one. If you want to edit it once you've already done, created a new one, you just double click it, you can edit it, and once you're finished, you can save and close. And this is how you use Google Doc to create a flowchart algorithm.